What's my price? You can get coverage for $9.95 a month. I'm 65, retired, and take medications. What's my price? Also $9.95 a month. I just turned 80 and I'm on a fixed income. What's my price?
As you can hear the classic commercial playing in the background that everybody knows so well.
If your age 58.
I was talking with a family member recently, and they brought up the topic of gentrification and its actual thoughts, and you might say its effect on community. Now, there are two different thoughts to think of. Now, I'm not speaking of the situation of possible where people are literally forced out of their homes so that another entity can come in and actually build a different concept than previously there because it's more advantageous to the dollar, and the echelon or powers that be or the developers want to do something there. I'm actually speaking to the aspect of areas that sit underdeveloped and underutilized. Often I hear of some complaints about when people come in and actually do rehab or investment in an area to invest in the homes and actually uplift the area. And although you might be complaining, I'm still glad that someone is actually in the area investing. I know I even sometimes I was a hater. And the reason why I was a hater was because I was on the other side looking outside looking in instead of inside looking out. And from the outside looking in, you're just looking at people who are actually just going to find about working on property. However, from the inside looking out, you're looking at people and families and cousins and moms and brothers and people just like yourself who decided to go into an area and start to work on various homes and businesses to get them renovated and up and running. And you hear a lot of the people speaking of the word of gentrification, and gentrification is wrong, and at least from the mindset of forcing other people out to create investment in the area. Reinvestment in the area is good, and what we must be mindful of is a lot of our friends and family members and associates who have left the area, understandably, for different shores and more brighter shores, whether for business or personal, and are doing quite well. Well, now you have the opportunity to actually, you don't have to go back to the area. You can actually invest in the area through either reputable people you know, or if you don't know reputable people, you can actually reach out to various investment groups and property managers, and the investment groups will lead you to great work crews and great contractors and people to work with. And one even stronger way is if you really plan to really create something different in an area, you could actually even contact the local police department and ask them about who are the block clubs in the area, and or either ask the local businesses or various people in the area, what does the area need? And then you become an actual champion of the area where people can get behind you. I'm not saying it's always perfect. I won't say my friend's name. However, a very nice guy I know, who I'll just say his name's like gold. He actually attempted to build something in some areas, and he was almost in tears. And I said to him, it's sort of hard to build when build a castle when your people are still stealing the timbers, and it's not necessarily your people being of a certain skin tone, because we don't know exactly who stole what. It could have been an actual nobody from the even area, or it could have been somebody from the area, but just you don't know exactly who or what type of person it was that did that. However, it caused him to actually pull out of an area that he used to live in, and he was attempting to do heavy investment. And you have to gauge people and crews, and it's not always easy to run crews and make sure that your materials stay on site and you're not paying for things twice, if you understand me. And then also the aspect of, once you actually get the property completed, if the property is going to sit vacant, and the actual risk that takes. If you're actually doing rehab to a property, I suggest that, if possible at all, especially if it's a multifamily or a property that would allow someone to actually live on one level while another level is being worked on, that is a great suggestion, because it gives you the protection of someone being on site at that home, at least almost always, in between it being worked on and being lived in. And then you also provide a home for someone. Those people that you see on the by the curbside, and the uh, asking for food or money. I could have been one of those people, because I was in a hit and run accident. And if it would have been for the fact of my family, I could have been on the street. So I could actually be one of those people. So you have to look, number one, in everyone with sheer love. And then also, a lot of those people that you actually see on the street, it's not because they actually want to be there. It's because they can't afford to actually find a home or a place that they can actually live in. Most of One of the reasons why I actually removed myself from the assisted living field was because the owners, you know, rent on a home used to be about $7, $8, or $900, and a lot of these rooms, they're actually asking for that amount in room fee for one room. Most people that like, there's a new facility for seniors on Myers in Detroit, Michigan, and they're starting their rooms or the costs out at $425, which is very affordable for someone who is getting approximately, most people get like around $800 or $900 a month if they're on some type of assistance. And that would allow them to actually be able to have a home, and they would have enough money for their room. If you charge someone $425 or $500 on just a room, My play auntie used to speak, was talking to me about how they had boarding rooms back in the 40s and 50s. And I had read an article about it, and I first thought it was sort of unfortunate that people were going down to rent just rooms. But then I thought about it. If you have a great living situation with nice people that live in the various rooms, you have a really nice community, a community that can look out for one another and each other's health and well being. And you also get somebody off the street. So you can literally take a home that was we'll even use a smaller home, such as we'll just say a two-bedroom home with, just a moment, please. A two-bedroom home, you can actually take where you would normally take the walk-in, and the two-bedroom home could have a room for the one person. That's $500 and a room for another person. That's $400 or $500. So you take your two-bedroom, one bath home and you turn it into a actual home that can actually house two people. And if you have, let's say, if it was a home with a basement, you could take one of the basement rooms and actually cut out the window in that room, opening it, and an actual exit way out the rear, and create that for a few $1,000s. Let's say you had the back rear modified to add let's just say you had room in your basement, you could actually create two rooms. So you take your two-bedroom, one bath house, and you've now made it a four-bedroom because you took the two rooms that you had upstairs, then you took two rooms that you have downstairs and convert them into actual rooms for people to live in. And you go and you have some excellent contractors like the people we work with to do the work and fix the around the areas of the window, allowing room for a proper exit. And where you once had a house that you were only making, if you had a two-bedroom, one bath, and you are renting it out, you now have a four-bedroom, and maybe you even add, which wouldn't be a bad idea, an additional toilet in the basement. And now you have a four-room house that you can rent out with two bathrooms, and you can provide a home for four people. So there are so many different avenues. You can buy a two-family flat and rent out each flat to single families. A lot of times I got a lot of calls and I felt bad that I could not assist people. They were families with a single parent with a child, and they just needed a little room, or they just wanted a room. A lot of them just want a room, and you would be able to actually provide that for them. So those people that you see, actually you can create a room for them. And no, everybody is not going to be a good tenant. However, there are good, very good, great people out there who need somewhere to live. And that is what you can provide for them. Sorry, I forgot to start flipping pictures again. You being able to provide that home for them is what they need. And you can put them in a home that is good for them and good for the community. Window is. Okay, yeah, here we go. And so that has been our show. And basically, the concept or the word that is such a bad word as of gentrification, why don't we take it a different step? All of my old classmates and friends and associates, if you are in a state or in a different state and you want to invest, call around to the various investors, and that job you have been working on for the last 20 years and you have all that seniority and you've kept your credit score up. Your credit is used to make money, not just for you to get a good deal on a car or a home. So you can use your credit to actually either build you a corporation and buy property, or use your credit to actually rehab the house that your parents had that is sitting there vacant, that you now can turn into a loving home for someone. Just a moment, we had a call coming in. Good day. How may I assist you? Oh, I'm sorry you have the wrong number. You have a good life. Bye bye. Okay, that is the wrong number. Let's see. What else? Oh, so you have to look at how you can actually better yourself and actually be a betterment to the community. Because the thing is that if you already have a good car and your car is running fantastic and it's paid off, and why go buy another car when you actually can, instead of that new car note, use that for an actual low mortgage? There are a lot of programs out there, especially like the things such as the DSCR loans or DCSR loans. I always get that incorrect. I get a direct. I'll learn the actual what it stands for, and then I'll have the abbreviation correct, which actually allows you to use or utilize the income that the location will generate to get a loan. And these are the type of things that you can utilize to create a home for a veteran or a senior or uh, uh, someone's family member, and get people off the streets. So gentrification might be a bad word. However, reinvestment into your actual neighborhood is a great possibility. So all those people out there with those great jobs that you've been working at for all this time, this is a great opportunity to utilize that seniority to assist you with moving forward. And if you're actually going out there to look, don't always go out. Your goal is to attempt to help people and to find things where you're getting the best of both situations. You want to, if you're buying a property and it needs work on it, you definitely should not be buying it anywhere near full market value. In addition, if you're buying a property and it doesn't need work on it, still, if you're buying full market value, that means you have no credit or anything to work with in between the purchase price and the ownership price, or the purchase price and the value price, which means you're going to probably have to come to the table with money. There are a lot of different avenues where you can reach out, and whether it's foreclosures or just reaching out to some of the investment groups and finding properties where you can purchase them for a percentage of the actual value. I know everybody always says pennies on the dollar, which is a great possibility because I know I have picked up homes for pennies on the dollar. However, I always don't like to say that because then everybody will be thinking only a penny on the dollar is a great deal. Look, if you find a house and the house is worth $100,000 and you can pick it up for $36,000, that's a good deal, especially if the house is in decent condition and does not need heavy repairs. So what you want to do is, if possible, find something where you can help somebody by buying their troubles and putting a lot of money in their pocket. Foreclosures is one example. Probate attorneys is another example. Families going through, unfortunately, if someone's divorcing, that's another example. But these are various examples of how you can actually purchase property not at necessarily the full market value and still be able to get a great loan or assist someone. So that is me taking the bad word of gentrification and looking at it from a different standpoint. If you actually see that they are attempting to reinvest, or unfortunately, if they are gentrifying an area, don't, how can I say this? How can you move in and take advantage of that situation where you create a better situation for the people in the area? So even if they are moving in and unfortunately doing something to an area, you still can move in and invest in that area and create a viable opportunity. So don't necessarily look at the people who are building something different in your area as always being gentrifiers. They could just be somebody wanting to invest and build up the neighborhood. I hope this was a positive message. I was attempting to give a positive thought idea on people who want to reinvest in the community, as well as the community that has moved out and might think of reinvestment. So this has been my show, Fix Your House. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Have a good day, have a good week, and have a good life. This has been W.A. Boykin II with Fix Your House. Bye-bye.